So okay, so METARs. So the METARs tasks, weather, like I said, is going to be an important part of your everyday aviation career. And every morning, every day, you'll check the weather, read the METARs, the tasks, the best place to get a feel for the weather. I generally, you'll develop your own weather checking routine. It could be anything from just looking out the window to going to certain websites. It all depends where you are, what you're doing, that sort of thing. If you're out in camp and there's no internet, you look out the window and get a feel for it that way. You look at the clouds, you look at everything.
Yeah, like
you get a
range IFR, I take it more in depth.
Yeah, IFR is much more in depth, yeah. Yeah, because there's minimums and alternates and all the, you need to know if you're going to break out a cloud, that sort of stuff. So it depends. The work I do out here is much more in depth for weather checking. When I was flying up the coast, then it was different weather checking. It was more looking at webcams and the big picture because there was no localized stuff. So I generally start in the big picture and work my way in to get a feel, because if you have an understanding of what overall is happening, you can tell if the localized stuff is actually accurate or not for predictions. So we're kind of skipping around here. We'll start with the METARs, which a METAR is a very localized weather report. So it's a surface weather observation issued on the hour, every hour, depending which airport or weather station you're looking at. SPECI is a special observation issued at times when, other than the hour, on the hour as a result of significant weather change. So it has to be pretty significant for them to issue a SPECI. The automated weather observation places, like the AWOS sites, have certain criteria that it will issue a SPECI on its own. And you'll see, like at Hope, if you ever look at the weather for Hope, if the weather is changing, you'll get a whole ton of SPECIs. Whereas a manned site, they'll look outside and see that it's changing rapidly, but they may not put out a SPECI as often because it's dependent on the observer. So, whereas the automated stations are, you know, like I said, it looks at a very specific spot in the sky, and so you might see it change quickly, rapidly. Data is collected by human observers or automated stations or combination thereof, encoded into METAR by computer software. There are two types of stations or automated stations used. The AWOS, which is the more common one that provides lots of information, or a limited weather information system, a LUIS. They're not LUIS's bulletins. They typically only cover temperature, altimeter setting, and temperature, dew point, altimeter. They may do winds. Yeah, they do wind as well, depending on the site, but they don't do cloud or any kind of obscuring phenomenons or visibility or things like that. So places like Victoria Airport, they have a LUIS system that goes into effect when towers close in place of the ATIS. Same with Nanaimo, so when there's no one there, there's no automated systems. A lot of airports are going that way instead of the AWOS, or when they're closed, instead of putting in AWOS, because it's much more affordable. So continuing, the METAR code is the standard code that's used throughout the world to report surface weather observations. Describes the occurring weather within 3 kilometers. This is from the NAV Canada website. I thought it was a different requirement. Anyways, 1.9 statute miles or 3 kilometers up the observation site, and is issued every hour or shortly after the hour. Typically, if you're looking for the latest METARs, usually wait for about 5 to 10 minutes after the hour, and they should all be there. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there and hit refresh every couple seconds waiting for the new ones to come out. It takes time for it to get uploaded into the system. If it's a person observer, they take the observation on the hour and submit it. It's got to go into the NAV Canada computer side of things, and then it has to get issued back out, so it takes a few minutes sometimes. Or they may not do it right on the hour, maybe 2 minutes late, and so on. Vicinity phenomena reported in a METAR, so if they say, you know, there's fog in the vicinity, it refers to it being within 8 kilometers or 5 statute miles of the observing site, typically the control zone. Anything that is outside of that is usually reported in the remarks portion of the METAR, so sometimes you may see fog bank to the southwest or something like that. So here's a sample METAR. So we'll work through it together. And we're going to practice just decoding a whole bunch of these. It's the best way to learn. Where can you look to find out for help for decoding a METAR?
In there.
Show me. Where else can you look while he's looking?
I think I remember seeing a link on App Canada's site.
Yeah, Nav Canada's website has something. I have that at the very end, the link to that.
I've got it on my favorites.
Anywhere else?
Where's the content?
Missing the most important one. First place I would look.
There's gotta be a
I'll give you a hint. It's sitting on the
Website.
table.
this thing.
Yeah!
All right.
Why doesn't somebody look up that one while we're waiting?
It's so far away.
Here's another one. Oh, and another one.
Am I gonna find? I thought I saw it in here. Did I not see it in here? I'm gonna making that up.
See if there's any other books.
Oh yay, 2006.
I'll tell you this. Weather doesn't change that much. Oh, this is another great book. I was glad they're putting these out still. I lost mine with this. But this is a great booklet. Do you guys all have one of these?
No.
Okay. These are, it's Nav Canada puts them out. I didn't know if they did anymore or not. Oh, August 2011, so it's a little old.
This just tells if the place has meta, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
You might find something in the flight planning in the very back, but I doubt it.
Okay.
I'm a little different. I'm in the metro section, but I think I'm wrong.
You're in the meteorology section.
Or meteorology, sorry.
Yeah. Go to the table of contents and from there. You can, I'll see if I can find another, because that is the best document to reference.
Always look for it.
Yeah. I don't see anything there.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
You might have one up at the desk. You can check up there.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's not an air mat.
What is he looking for specifically then?
The decoder.
Oh, cool.
Found it.
Neat.
Small version.
Found it.
Oh, it's 2016. Very
So you
fancy.
have. It's 144 in 2006.
This book you guys should be using a lot in your course. It has a lot of information that you need. And it's actually readable to some degree, whereas the cars is not very readable.
Hmm.
You go through the rack section, which is rules of the air or something like that. Whatever the rack stands for, I can't remember. It says it at the front, rack.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is one. It's 143. It says sample message.
Yeah. Rules of the air and air traffic services. Like rack is a big section for if you want to summarize a lot of the cars and the information. It's a great place to read. There's a lot, same with the air section, has a lot of information like about icing, and you can find that's a good place to reference what the effects of icing are on helicopters.
Okay.
It talks about it in there. It's like that should be a go-to book for a lot of stuff for you guys. It still is for me.
Awesome.
If I need to look something up, if I'm doing recurrent exams, and there's questions on there, I'm going to the AIM. If I have questions about IFR, I go to the AIM. So it's a bit easier. But this is a good quick reference book. So I'd encourage you guys to look at the METARs every day just to get practice, because come your flight tests, you'll be expected to decode them and be familiar and comfortable with them, especially in your first TPC and check ride as well. So I would, if I were you guys, I would look at the METARs in the past every day, and if you're getting stuck, use that. And try not to use the decode function of the the website.
Does the decode function?
Yeah, I'll show you how that works in a bit.
Maybe you shouldn't show us.
Well, if you get stuck, it's a good place to reference.
Okay.
So everybody found it. There's the chart of
2,
significance. We got sample message, yeah, and then it breaks it down from there on. Sample message, you got sample message, yeah, you're into it. Just go back a page and that's where it is. So this is,
I've had to read these before.
Oh, yeah, so you're good. So we'll go through and decode this together, but just so you know where you can find information. So the first identifier there, METAR, that identifies it as, well, obviously a METAR, but you can also have SPECI or an L. Lewis indicator. The next is the station identifier. Not always an aerodrome or an airport. It could be, you know, there's all sorts of weird weather stations out there that can put out in the METAR form that you can have. And maybe CAW something or whatever. I think Whistler's or something like that. Does anybody know what this one is? Or where you would find that?
Okay.
Yeah. So what COA is that?
CYNAC. Long Beach.
Oh, was it?
Tofino.
Tofino. Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. So Tofino. The next is the date stamp in Zulu. So the first two numbers is the date. So this is the 25th. And then the next four digits are the time of day. So 0100 Zulu. So that would be what time right now?
In Tofino or
Right now for us.
1800, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yeah. So yeah, 1800. Yeah. 25th. How do we know which month it is?
Just the first two digits. Or no, sorry.
That's the
That's
day of the
the day.
month. Doesn't matter. Why would we care if it was a different day of the month? We just want to know today's. So if you looked at that and it said the 25th, well, it obviously doesn't apply to today, and this is cold weather. Generally, when you check the weather, you don't have to worry about that problem. You just want to see that it is for the 5th, because you may have yesterday's weather, but it tends, if you go on the website, it'll show you that it's old. It should. So if this said, you know, the 4th at 0100, that would mean yesterday at 6 p.m. So you want it to say the day. So this is a good thing to check, and obviously the time that it's applicable. So how long is this METAR good for?
Till the next one.
Any other guesses?
The hour.
Does anyone know? What?
The hour.
No, I don't know.
Is it good for 1 hour? Is it good for 1 minute? Is it good for
1 hour would
1
be my
second?
guess, but
I know how we treat it.
hold on.
That might not be the right answer.
Well, how do you treat it?
In the Navy, we treated them, they were the best information you had until another one was issued.
Oh, here.
Or
Yeah,
you-
that's
Or
true.
you've got connectivity again to
Every
get
3
it.
hours.
They're valid for 3 hours?
Okay.
How long is this weather expected to last for?
I'm
I'll give you a
guessing
hint.
that's part of the code in there.
It's not a forecast. It's a weather report.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know about a weather report? That is the weather reported
At that moment.
at that moment in time. How long is it good for? The time that it was issued for. So that weather is only current for that exact time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They reported what they saw out the window. It's like taking a picture.
And then it's done.
That
Could be anything
picture
else.
was only accurate at the exact time it was taken. Who knows what's happened since? Until the next weather report, you don't know what the weather is exactly. So all you know is that at that time, that's the weather. And as you get more and more of them, you get a trend of what the weather is doing. But if that's the last report for the day for Tofino, and you're checking it at 2 in the morning, which is 6 hours later, you don't know if the weather's changed. It's old weather. Okay. Generally, they're issued every hour, or more frequently if the weather is changing a lot. But all that is that's the weather at that moment in time. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
You may get that question. It's a tricky question. It's meant to get you. I have to point it out. When we get into TAFs, that's a terminal aerodrome forecast. Forecast is different than a report, right?
Okay.
Wind information. This breaks down, so the first two digits, so it's, or 3 digits, 210 at 4 knots. Okay, is the wind. That makes sense. Wind information, is it true or magnetic? You don't have to guess, you can look it up.
True.
Well, I'm guessing true because there's a T behind it, but that could just be not.
No,
It's
that's
not.
not.
Yeah, okay.
You also see like a G in there for gusting and then a second set of digits. Which I'm assuming it probably says here. Yeah, wind gusts.
True. Nearest 10 turns.
It says true.
It's true.
I don't see it here.
It's line 3.
Well,
And
mine's
there's
different
always
than
3
yours.
digits given in degrees.
10 degrees true.
Yeah, so it's in true. Speed is in knots. So this is important to know. So what is the variation around here at atmosphere? It doesn't have to be exact. What's the rule?
17.
17 degrees, yeah. So you would subtract, is it east or west?
I believe it's 8.
Okay, so we would subtract about 17 degrees from that to get the magnetic direction. Okay. So if you were to listen to the weather on the ATIS, is that in true or magnetic?
Magnetic.
Magnetic, yeah. Okay. So anything written is in true, unless otherwise stated. And anything heard is magnetic, right? Next is the visibility. Prevailing horizontal visibility. This is not what you would see as a pilot flying, because what we see is slant visibility. It's different than reported visibility. Reported is a horizontal measurement along the Earth. So 15 statute miles. So that's one of the indicators there, is because it's in statute miles, whereas if you heard the weather, if you listened to the ATIS, or you were reporting the visibility, it would be in
No.
nautical miles. Okay? It's a pain in the butt that they're different, but they are relatively the same. So
Sort of close.
they're close enough. Okay, so wind direction in degrees true, speed knots, visibility is in statute miles. Okay, we'll get into more examples here in a second, but right in here somewhere would be a obscuring phenomenon, such as mist, light rain, snow, and so on. We'll have more in the examples. This one doesn't. I quickly put this together today. Next portion is the cloud grouping. So here, this section here is referring to clouds. So if I'll read you the first one. It says few, 1,200 feet, and then broken, 2,200 feet, overcast, 8,000 feet. The only other one not listed there is scattered, which would be SCT. Now the height, so when it says 1,200 feet, is that above sea level or above ground level?
Let's find out.
Inclined to say about sea level. Reported as height above station elevation.
Ah, so it's basically above ground level.
What page is that?
146.
This is very important to remember. So if you're looking, what's the elevation of Abbotsford Airport?
194.
Okay, so about 200 feet. So when you look at that, that's actually 1,400 feet above sea level. So as you look at the altimeter, it's 1,400 feet. This is handy to know. So what's the lowest ceiling you can have and go out flying? Have you gotten into minimum visibilities and
Special
ceilings and-
VFRs, 500.
yeah.
For
Yeah, yeah, in a control zone.
control zone.
500 feet above the ground? Or 500 feet from cloud?
Both, so it'd be 1,000 feet, right?
Yeah, you need a 1,000-foot ceiling. And that's over,
That's for special VFR?
well, special VFR, the lowest you can go is 500 feet over any object, person, thing, or structure. Unless it's a built-up area, and then the lowest you can go is 1,000 feet. So then you need a 15. Well, no, for special, then you need to be able to do 1,000 feet to stay clear of cloud. So special VFR is a half mile and clear of cloud. Generally, at the lowest, 500 feet is what you'd be crossing over people, structures, things. But you want to stay clear of cloud. So this is where it's handy. Generally, in a control zone without special VFR, it's, do you guys remember what it is? Visibility you need in a control zone?
3 miles.
3 miles.
1,000 feet from cloud.
Yeah, 351, right? So 500 feet and then vertically and 1,000 feet horizontally. So without special VFR, you have to be 500 feet below the cloud. So that's where this would come in handy. So the highest that we can fly here, few is not considered a ceiling. What's considered a ceiling?
Broken.
Yeah, anything greater than half. So broken is how many octaves?
5 to
5.
7.
5 or more. Yeah, 5 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah, overcast beat. Yeah. So here the ceiling is
2,200.
2,200.
yeah, not 8,000.
No.
No, it's broken at 2,200. So the highest that we can fly, according to this weather report, will, in a control zone, would be 1,700 feet, right, above ground. So then we figure out what the airport elevation is to read it on our altimeter. So that would be, if that was Abbotsford, that would actually be what, 1,900 feet?
Yeah.
So if we were going to do a circuit at Abbotsford, most circuits are based at 1,000 feet above the airport, so Abbotsford is about 1,200 feet. So 1,000 feet above the airport, we can easily do a circuit because this first cloud height is 2,200 feet above the airport. If we were to part out, do we need special VFR? No, because the ceiling is greater than 1,000 feet above the airport, right? So we need special when it's less than 1,000 feet because we have to stay 500 feet above the ground, right? To stay away from any object, person, or thing.
Yeah.
And then we have to stay 500 feet away from the cloud, and if we can't, then we require special VFR. That's why you need 1,000 feet
Okay.
to stay VFR. Hope that makes a bit more sense through a lot of numbers.
So and for special VFR, you call and request it, right?
Yeah, and you call and request it when you can no longer maintain the altitude,
Yeah.
which would, 500 feet from cloud, 500 feet above any object,
Yeah.
1,000 feet in a built-up area, or the visibility is less than 3 miles, right?
I had to request it the other morning.
Oh, did you?
Now, the interesting thing is, if the ATIS is reporting 2 miles and 500-foot ceiling, or sorry, 3 miles and a 500-foot ceiling, so 3 miles or more, 500-foot ceiling, tower will not make you request special, because they will only make you request special according to the visibility.
Oh.
Yeah, because they don't know what the ceiling is where you are.
Oh.
So it is up to you to request that. If you don't, and transport finds out, they can violate you.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's
If
not
you-
as much fun as it sounds.
If you're flying.
Yeah, if you're flying at less than, so if you go out the east route or whatever, and I don't even remember what the east route altitude is, and you're flying along the highway at 300 feet, but you have 6 miles visibility, so you're not doing special, you can get in trouble for that.
Hmm.
But if you requested special,
If you requested special, then it's clear of cloud, and you have to maintain 500 feet away from any object, person, or thing, right? So you can go down that highway at 500 feet.
What if the cloud's so low you got to go back and land, or you're coming in for landing and the cloud is at 500 feet? Right there?
When can you go lower than 500 feet above any object, person, or thing?
for the purpose of landing or taking off.
Yeah, there's a whole list of things.
Okay.
Flight training is actually one of them.
Oh.
But
I
for
can
the
fly around at
purposes
300
of,
feet all day
yeah,
long.
for the purposes of landing and taking off, it is an exception to the rule. So if you're coming into the airport and the ceiling's getting lower and lower, and the tower has cleared you to land, BC helicopters are cleared to land at your discretion, you can depart from that 500 feet. You just don't wanna be stupid about it. There is another rule in the cars that says you can't cause danger to any person, property, or thing. Basically, you can't be a retard, and you can't damage property because you're flying so low, or something like that, right? So that's, you gotta keep that in mind as well. But you are expected,